The desperate plea Admiral Sarah Chon stood at the observation deck of Deep Space Station Aurora, watching the stars shimmer like diamonds against the black canvas of space. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she barely noticed. The routine. Patrol reports scrolled across her tablet as she mentally calculated supply routes and defensive positions. 23 years in the Space Defense Course had taught her that peace was just war taking a breath. The station's proximity alarms shattered the quiet morning shift. Chon's tablet clattered to the floor as she spun toward the command center. Red lights bathed the corridors in emergency crimson, while her boots echoed against metal flooring. The automatic doors hissed open, revealing chaos. "Admiral on deck," shouted Lieutenant Martinez from the communications station. Officers scrambled between workstations as holographic displays flickered with incoming data streams. "Report." Chun barked, sliding into her command chair. "Unknown vessel approaching from Sector 7. Called out Ensign Park, her fingers dancing across the sensor controls. "It's badly damaged, Admiral. Hull breaches on multiple decks, and their engine signature is unlike anything in our databases." Chun studied the main display screen. The approaching ship looked like a crystal sculpture that had been shattered and reassembled by a child. Translucent sections caught the light from nearby stars, while dark scorch marks told stories of recent violence. "Are they hostile?" "Negative, Admiral," Park replied, checking her instruments again. "They're broadcasting distress signals on 17 different frequencies. Whatever they are, they're asking for help." Dr. Marcus Webb rushed into the command center, still wearing his research lab coat. As the station's chief xenobiologist, he had been studying alien cultures for 8 years, ever since humanity had made first contact with the galactic community. "Admiral, I've been monitoring their transmissions. The language patterns suggest a highly advanced but peaceful species." Chun nodded grimly. In her experience, peaceful species usually needed help because someone less peaceful was giving them trouble. "Bring them to Docking Bay 3. Full medical team standing by, and I want security escorts just in case." 30 minutes later, Chun stood in the docking bay airlock, watching through reinforced glass as the alien vessel slowly maneuvered into position. The ship's hull seemed to pulse with soft blue light, like a heartbeat made of starlight. "When?" The docking clamps engaged with gentle precision. She could hear the faint hum of alien technology through the station's metal walls. The airlock cycled open with a soft whoosh of equalizing atmosphere. What stepped through changed everything Chun thought she knew about alien life. The being stood nearly 7 feet tall, but its presence felt gentle rather than intimidating. Its skin seemed to be made of living crystal, shifting between shades of blue and silver as it moved. Where humans had eyes, this creature had pools of liquid light that somehow conveyed infinite sadness. When it spoke, its voice carried the sound of wind chimes in a summer breeze. "Greetings, beings of Earth," the alien said, its words somehow translating directly into Chun's mind. "I am Ambassador Zephyr of the Serenity Collective. We come to you in our darkest hour, seeking aid from those who might understand the value of life." Dr. Webb stepped forward, his scanner discreetly taking readings. "Ambassador Zephyr, I'm Dr. Webb. Welcome to Station Aurora. What kind of help do you need?" Zephyr's crystalline features seemed to dim, like a light slowly fading. "Our worlds are dying, Dr. Webb. The Devourer swarm has found our star systems. They consume everything: planets, stars, entire civilizations. We have lost 14 worlds in the past 6 months." Chun felt her stomach drop. "How many ships does this swarm have?" "Ships?" Zephyr's confusion was evident, even through the alien translation. "They do not use ships as you understand them. The Devourer swarm is a collective consciousness that inhabits massive living organisms. Each creature is the size of a small moon, and they travel through space, feeding on stellar energy and planetary mass. How many of these creatures are attacking your people? Chun asked, though she dreaded the answer. Our astronomers have identified over 3,000 entities approaching our remaining colonies, Zephyr replied. They move like a plague across the galaxy, leaving nothing but empty space in their wake. The docking bay fell silent, except for the gentle hum of life support systems. Chun had dealt with raiders, pirates, and territorial disputes, but this was something beyond her experience. What kind of military support are you requesting? Zephyr's form brightened slightly with what might have been hope. We ask for very little, Admiral. Perhaps a dozen of your patrol ships to help evacuate our civilians. We have heard that humans are innovative in their thinking. We hope that your presence might convince other species to join our cause. Dr. Webb exchanged glances with Chun. Ambassador, how many species have you asked for help? 47, Zephyr answered sadly. 46 have refused, saying the Devourer swarm is too dangerous to oppose. The Galactic Council has declared our systems a quarantine zone. We are to be abandoned to save the rest of the galaxy. Chun felt anger building in her chest like a furnace. The idea of entire civilizations being written off as acceptable losses made her jaw clench. What about your own defenses? The Serenity Collective has never needed weapons of war, Zephyr explained. We are healers, diplomats, and artists. Our greatest achievement was ending the sector wars 3 centuries ago by teaching 12 species to resolve conflicts through understanding rather than violence. And now that philosophy might get you all killed, Chun said grimly. Yes, Zephyr agreed. We have learned too late, and not all beings in the universe value life as we do. The Devourer swarm sees us only as food to be consumed. Dr. Webb stepped closer to the alien ambassador. You mentioned that you've heard about human innovation. What exactly have you heard? Zephyr's liquid light eyes seemed to focus on something beyond the docking bay walls. Stories travel quickly through the galaxy, even to peaceful worlds like ours. They say humans think differently about problems. Where other species see impossible situations, humans see puzzles to be solved. Where others see overwhelming odds, humans see challenges to overcome. You've been talking to the right people, Sean said with a slight smile. Dr. Webb, take Ambassador Zephyr to the diplomatic quarters. Full medical support and anything else they need. I have some calls to make. As the alien and the scientist left the docking bay, Chun walked to the communication station. Her fingers moved across the controls with practiced efficiency, opening a priority channel to Earth Defense Command. The face that appeared on the screen belonged to Fleet Admiral Rodriguez, a woman whose gray hair and lined face spoke of decades spent protecting humanity's interests. Sarah, what's the situation? We have refugees from an alien species called the Serenity Collective, Chun reported. They're being attacked by something called the Devourer swarm, 3,000 moon-sized creatures that consume entire star systems. Rodriguez's expression became serious. And they came to us for help? They're asking for a dozen patrol ships to help with evacuations, Chun continued. 46 other species have refused to help them. The Galactic Council has written them off as a loss. Patrol ships, Rodriguez repeated thoughtfully. For evacuation support. That's what they're asking for, Admiral. But I get the feeling they don't understand what they're dealing with. These creatures sound like they could threaten the entire galaxy if they're not stopped. Rodriguez was quiet for a long moment, her fingers steepled under her chin. Sarah, how long would it take to mobilize a proper response force? Define proper, Admiral. Something that could actually make a difference against 3,000 moon-sized predators. Chun felt a familiar thrill run through her. It was the same feeling she'd gotten during the Titan Rebellion, when everyone said the asteroid miners couldn't be stopped. Give me 72 hours, Admiral. I'll have a fleet ready for deployment. Very good. I'll inform the Defense Council and authorize full mobilization. These Serenity Collective people asked for help, and they're going to get it. As the communication ended, Sean began composing deployment orders. The Aurora Station's docking bays would need to be cleared for incoming ships. Supply lines would need to be established. Personnel would need to be recalled from leave. But first, she needed to explain to Ambassador Zephyr that when humans offered help, they meant it in ways that the galaxy had never seen before. 2 hours later, Chun sat across from Zephyr in the station's diplomatic lounge. The alien ambassador had been given crystalline formations to rest upon, and Dr. Webb had confirmed that their physiology was stable in the station's environment. Ambassador, Chun began carefully, I want to make sure you understand what you're asking for. We seek passage for our remaining population to safety, Zephyr replied. Perhaps 50 million beings across our last 3 worlds. Chun nodded. And you're facing 3,000 hostile entities, each the size of a small moon. Yes, the Devourer swarm has never been successfully opposed. They have consumed civilizations for millions of years, moving from galaxy to galaxy like a plague. I see. Chun leaned forward. Ambassador, when you asked for a dozen patrol ships, did you mean 12 vessels total? Zephyr's form flickered. With confusion. Yes, Admiral. We understand that would be a significant commitment for any species. We would not ask for more than... Ambassador, Chun interrupted gently. I think there's been a misunderstanding. When humans commit to helping someone, we don't do it halfway. I've authorized the deployment of what we call a full response fleet. How many ships is that? Zephyr asked. Chun smiled. 2,000 vessels, plus support craft. The largest deployment in human military history. The alien ambassador's crystalline form went completely still. The light within their body dimmed to almost nothing, and for a moment, Sean worried they had caused some kind of system shock. 2,000? Zephyr whispered. Give or take a few hundred, Chun confirmed. We're still calculating the exact numbers based on what we'll need to face these devourer creatures. But that's more ships than most species have in their entire military. Chun's smile widened. Ambassador, you came to us because you heard that humans think differently about problems. Well, here's how we think about it. If something is worth doing, it's worth doing right. And if someone asks us for help, we give them the kind of help they actually need, not just the kind they think they can ask for. Zephyr's form began to brighten again, but now the light seemed to pulse with something that might have been hope, mixed with disbelief. Admiral Chun, your species would risk 2,000 ships to help people you've never met? Ambassador, Chun said, standing and walking to the viewing port, let me tell you something about humans. We don't like bullies. We especially don't like bullies who pick on peaceful people. And we really don't like the idea of moon-sized predators, thinking they can just consume entire civilizations without consequences. The alien joined her at the window, their crystalline form reflecting the starlight. The other species we approached, they said we were doomed. They said the Devourer swarm was too powerful to resist. Maybe they were right, Chun admitted. Maybe 3,000 moon-sized creatures really are too much for anyone to handle. But you know what? We're going to find out, because that's what humans do. We show up, we figure out how to fight impossible odds, and we don't stop until the job is done. As if summoned by her words, the first ships of the response fleet began emerging from hyperspace. Chun watched Zephyr's reaction as destroyer squadrons materialized against the star field, their hulls gleaming with weapon systems that had been designed to fight enemies the galaxy had never imagined. Admiral, Zephyr said softly. What have? We done? Chun placed a reassuring hand on the alien's crystalline shoulder. You asked for help, Ambassador. You're about to learn what that means when you ask humans. Asterisk, the human response to the Serenity Collective's home system looked like a vision of paradise under siege. 3 pristine worlds orbited their golden sun, their surfaces visible even from space as tapestries of blue oceans and silver cities. But the beauty was marred by the dark shadows that moved between the planets like cosmic sharks circling wounded prey. Fleet Commander Elena Reyes stood on the bridge of the U.S. Indomitable, the flagship of humanity's largest military deployment. Around her, 2,000 human vessels hung in space like a constellation of steel and fire. The fleet had taken 6 days to assemble, and another 4 to reach the Serenity system through hyperspace. Now they faced the reality of what they had come to fight. "Sensor report," Reyes commanded, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had spent 15 years commanding fleets against impossible odds. "Ma'am, we're reading approximately 3,000 large biological entities throughout the system," reported Lieutenant Torres from the tactical station. "Each one measures between 800 and 1,200 kilometers in diameter. They appear to be feeding on the planet's atmospheres." Captain Morrison, the fleet's chief strategist, looked up from his analysis console with disbelief written across his face. "Commander, these things are literally eating the planets. They're stripping away the atmosphere molecule by molecule and converting it into some kind of bioenergy." Reyes studied the tactical display with the calm focus that had made her legendary. In the defense corps, each red dot on the screen represented a creature larger than most moons, and there were thousands of them. "What about the civilian population?" "We're detecting approximately 12 million Serenity Collective beings on the surface of the second planet," Torres replied. "They appear to be in some kind of protective crystalline structures, but the atmospheric depletion is accelerating." Ambassador Zephyr materialized on the bridge through the quantum communicator link with Station Aurora. Their crystalline form flickered with anxiety as they took in the scope of the human fleet. "Commander Reyes, we cannot thank you enough for this response. But please understand, the Devourer swarm has never been defeated. Perhaps we should focus on evacuation?" Reyes turned to face the alien diplomat with a slight smile. "Ambassador, we didn't bring 2,000 ships to run away. We came here to solve your problem permanently." "But Commander," Zephyr protested, "these creatures have consumed entire galaxies. They are older than most civilizations. How can even your magnificent fleet hope to succeed where countless others have failed?" "Because," Reyes said, walking to the main viewing screen, "we're not countless others. We're humans. And we have something those other civilizations probably didn't." "What is that?" "We're really, really good at killing things that need to be killed." As if in response to her words, the Devourer swarm began to move. The massive creatures turned away from their feeding grounds, their attention focused on the new arrivals. Through the ship's speakers came a sound that made everyone on the bridge shiver, a low, harmonious hum that seemed to resonate through space itself. "They're communicating." Dr. Webb's voice came through the comm system from the science vessel UES Discovery. "The harmonics suggest a collective consciousness. They're curious about us." The harmonic hum suddenly shifted, becoming deeper and more threatening. On the tactical display, the swarm entities began moving toward the human fleet with purpose. That spoke of predatory intelligence. "Commander," Torres called out, "we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from all of them at once. Put it through." The main screen filled with an image that defied description. It was like looking into the depths of space itself, but with an intelligence behind it that felt vast and ancient. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "New prey things," the collective consciousness said, its words carrying the weight of eons. "You are small. You are young. You will be consumed as all things are consumed. Your energy will join the eternal feast." Reyes stepped forward, her expression unchanged. "This is Fleet Commander Elena Reyes of the Terran Republic. You are attacking our allies. Withdraw from this system immediately, or we will remove you by force." The response was something that might have been laughter, if laughter could sound. Like the death of stars. Force? You speak of force? Tiny meat thing? We have devoured civilizations that span thousands of worlds. We have consumed the energy of dying galaxies. What force could your brief existence possibly threaten us with? You're about to find out, Reyes replied calmly. All ships, battle. Stations, implement Operation Pest Control. Across the human fleet, 2,000 vessels responded with mechanical precision. Weapon systems that had been designed to fight enemies both known and unknown, powered up with the distinctive whine of charging energy cores. Launch bays opened like flowers of steel, releasing clouds of fighters and drones that moved with the coordination of a single mind. "Commander," Zephyr said urgently, "what is Operation Pest Control?" Captain Morrison answered with the kind of smile that made enemy admirals resign their commissions. "Ambassador, it's what we call our protocol for dealing with large-scale infestations. We developed it for dealing with asteroid-based life forms in the outer colonies." The first wave of Devourer entities reached weapons range, their massive forms seeming to move slowly, despite covering thousands of kilometers per second. They were even more horrifying up close, not quite biological, not quite mechanical, but something that combined the worst aspects of both. Tendrils hundreds of kilometers long reached out toward the human ships like the fingers of cosmic nightmares. "All batteries open fire," Reyes commanded. What happened next redefined the concept of overwhelming force. 2,000 ships opened. Fire simultaneously, their combined weapons output equivalent to the total military might of most galactic civilizations. Energy beams that could crack planets lanced through space, while missile salvos the size of asteroid fields streaked toward their targets. The lead Devourer entity absorbed the first volley with what seemed like casual indifference. "It's massive." Form rippled where the energy weapon struck, but it continued forward without apparent damage. "Conventional weapons are ineffective, Commander," Torres reported. "Their biological armor is adapting to our energy signatures." "Phase 2, Reyes announced. "Deploy the Sunbreaker rounds." Morrison looked up from his tactical display with genuine concern. "Commander, we've never tested those against living targets this large." The theoretical yield is exactly what we need," Reyes interrupted. "Launch sequence authorized." From the fleet's heavy cruisers came weapons that humanity had hoped never to use. Sunbreaker rounds were designed to crack the cores of gas giants during terraforming operations. Each projectile contained enough antimatter to sterilize a small moon. 12 rounds streaked toward the lead Devourer entity, their trajectory carefully calculated to strike. Simultaneously, the explosion could be seen from 3 star systems away. When the light faded, the massive creature was gone. Not damaged, not wounded, completely vaporized. The collective consciousness's harmonic hum faltered for the first time in millennia. "Impossible," the swarm's voice echoed across all communication frequencies. "Nothing can ... How did you—" "That was 1 round per target," Reyes announced. "We have enough ammunition to kill every one of you 3 times over. Last chance to withdraw peacefully." The swarm's response came not in words, but in action. 3,000 massive entities abandoned their feeding and charged toward the human. Fleet with the fury of predators who had suddenly discovered they could become prey. "All ships free engagement," Reyes commanded. "Time to show them what 2,000 years of human warfare evolution looks like." What followed was less a battle than a demonstration of applied physics. The human fleet moved like a single organism, their formations shifting and adapting with each passing second. Fighters darted between the massive swarm entities like angry wasps, their weapons targeting specific biological systems that Dr. Webb's team had identified as critical nodes. The Devourer swarm had evolved to handle energy weapons, kinetic bombardment, and even planetary-scale fusion detonations. They had never encountered weapons designed by a species that had spent centuries perfecting the art of making other living things stop existing. Biotoxin torpedoes designed for clearing infected space hulks proved devastatingly effective against creatures that were essentially mobile ecosystems. Quantum disruptors that could unmake matter at the subatomic level tore through biological armor that had withstood supernovas. Neural scramblers turned the swarm's collective consciousness against itself, causing massive entities to attack their own kind in confusion. "Commander," Torres called out, "we're detecting massive system failures throughout the swarm. Their collective consciousness is fragmenting." On the main screen, the ancient intelligence that had spoken with such arrogance now flickered and distorted. Its voice, when it came, was broken and confused. What are you? This is not possible. We are eternal. We are inevitable. You're neither, Reyes replied. You're just very large parasites, and humans are very good at pest control. The battle continued for 6 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt after the first 30 minutes. One by one, the creatures that had terrorized the galaxy for eons fell to weapons they had never imagined could exist. Some tried to flee, only to discover that human ships were faster than anything they had encountered. Others attempted to dive into the system's star, hoping to feed on stellar energy and recover, but found their path blocked by mining platforms that stripped away solar matter faster than they could consume it. When the last Devourer entity finally stopped moving, the silence in the Serenity system was absolute. 3 worlds hung in space, their atmospheres slowly beginning to recover from the feeding damage. Across the human fleet, crews stood at their stations in stunned realization of what they had accomplished. Asterisk. Ambassador Zephyr's form on the communication screen pulsed with colors that had no names in human language. "Commander Reyes, you did it. You actually did it. The Devourer swarm is gone." "Yes, Ambassador," Reyes confirmed, her voice carrying the satisfaction of a job well done. "They won't be bothering anyone ever again." "But how? How did you know how to fight them?" Civilizations with millions of years of military experience failed against these creatures. Reyes exchanged glances with her officers, all of whom were grinning with a kind of pride that came from exceeding every possible expectation. "Ambassador, those civilizations made the same mistake the swarm did. They assumed that age and size were the most important factors in warfare." "What is more important?" Zephyr asked. "Creativity," Captain Morrison answered. "Adaptability. The willingness to try solutions that seem impossible. Most species develop military doctrine and stick with it for millennia. Humans develop new ways to fight every time we encounter a new enemy. Plus," added Dr. Webb through the CUM system, "we're the only species that has ever made entertainment out of figuring out how to kill giant monsters. Do you have any idea how many movies, books, and games we've created about fighting creatures exactly like these?" Zephyr's crystalline form brightened with what might have been amusement. "You mean you have practiced this scenario before?" "For centuries," Reyes confirmed. "We call it Kaiju fighting. It's practically a cultural obsession. When we saw what you were dealing with, half our tactical staff already had preliminary battle plans drawn up. As the human fleet began the process of securing the system and assisting with planetary recovery, word of the battle spread through the galaxy's communication networks. Species that had refused to help the Serenity Collective now watched in disbelief as recordings of the engagement were broadcast on every major news channel. The Galactic Council, which had written off the Serenity system as a loss, called emergency sessions to discuss the implications of humanity's military capabilities. trade delegations from 47 different species submitted requests for formal diplomatic relations with the Terran Republic. But perhaps the most significant change was in how the galaxy viewed the concept of asking humans for help. The phrase "small support fleet" became something of a cosmic joke, while human-scale response entered galactic languages as a term meaning overwhelming and decisive action. 6 months later, Ambassador Zephyr stood in the rebuilt capital city of the Serenity Collective's homeworld, watching human construction crews work alongside collective engineers to rebuild what the swarm had damaged. The crystalline cities gleamed under their golden sun, more beautiful than ever. "Admiral Chun," Zephyr said through the quantum communicator, "our people will never forget what humanity did for us. But I must ask, why did you help us? What did you gain from this?" Chun's image smiled from the communication screen. "Ambassador, you asked us for help. That's reason enough. But if you want the complete answer, it's this. We helped you because we could, because it was the right thing to do, and because we wanted the galaxy to know something about humans." What did you want them to know? That when someone asks US for help, they're going to get more help than they ever imagined possible. And that if you threaten innocent people, you're going to discover that humans have spent our entire history getting very, very good at making threats go away permanently. As the communication ended, Zephyr looked up at the stars where human patrol ships maintained watch over the recovered system. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was learning a new lesson about the small blue world called Earth and the species that had turned pest control into an art form. The devourer swarm was gone forever, but the legend of humanity's response would live on for millions of years. A reminder that sometimes the smallest species can deliver the biggest surprises.